What's up, YouTube? It's Elijah here. Let me welcome you to another video in the video series, How to Be a Pro Uber Eats Driver from the UberLifestyle.com. Your one-stop shop for all things rideshare, passenger, customer, and drivers alike. In this video, we're going to be covering timing, what's the best time to drive and doing Uber Eats, apartments, workplace, and houses versus each other, like the value they have to you, and what you can expect when you drive certain times of the day in terms of those three things. Now, let's get in part, we'll cover the timing first. So, first thing you gotta realize is when it comes to what time is best to drive Uber Eats. Now, Uber Eats is available 24/7. Obviously, the restaurants may not be available, but the service of Uber Eats is available 24/7. So you can turn the app on at any time and potentially get a ping, but obviously there's going to be peak times of the day based on certain cycles. I go into more detail about this in the article. I'll make a video on it later, but the cycle of rideshare. And what is the cycle of rideshare? The cycle of rideshare and delivery. What is determining the rides or requests that are coming in? It's going to be a certain factors. So it's going to basically be breakfast time, lunchtime, and dinner time. And we'll cover the time frame of each one. Now, key thing to remember about these times are, we covered money spots and hot spots. So you should by now have them categorized in terms of those. Breakfast, lunch, dinner time, etc. This is where it's going to bring some real value to it. First, let's cover the morning rush hour. That's going to be between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Now, key thing about this one is, you got to remember that not too many restaurants are going to be open during this time, so you have to pick a money spot or a hot spot. Now, in this case, it's not going to really be that many hot spots. I already covered what a hot spot is. I'm staying true to my word. I'm not going to cover things again. You got to watch previous video. But you will probably find money spots, and that's what you should be looking for. A conglomeration of Uber Eats restaurants that have partnered with Uber Eats, and I kind of kick it there. Or it could be just an individual restaurant, but I'll just throw something out there. Let's say IHOP. This order is for one being desired in the morning. So you might want to get in front of an IHOP and just kind of kick it there. Preferably an IHOP is surrounded by other breakfast restaurants. So the algorithm for Uber Eats, I already told you how it works, but there aren't going to be as many drivers on the road in the morning. And if there are, it's kind of common sense to use this strategy. It's actually not that advanced, so it's not going to be like there's going to be too many drivers that far away and they'll get priority over you. So go ahead and set up shop at a breakfast restaurant. You should be good. Now, it may not be steady. People in your area may not order Uber Eats often in the morning. So that's something you're going to have to judge, is it worth it or not. If it's not worth it, I would skip the morning rush hour. Because generally speaking, I actually don't really do it that much. I don't really consider it worth it. But in some areas, it is. Mainly, the main reason I don't consider it worth it, I would have to go to certain parts of Dallas. I stay in the suburbs, and it's not worth it to me. So evaluate if it's worth it and go from there. Now, next up, it's going to be the lunchtime hours. That's going to be between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Now, a little side note, when evaluating your hot spots and your money spots for restaurants, this is where that customer app comes into play. A lot of restaurants don't open till 11 o'clock. So keep that in mind. Like, you might deem some hot spot or a money spot for lunchtime, for instance. Keep in mind if the restaurants involved open at 11 o'clock or they already open, okay? If they're not open yet, you need to kind of rethink your strategy between 10 a.m. and 11:15. I say that just because the restaurant opens at 11 o'clock doesn't mean like they're gonna instantly get a request. And let's say they do get a request, they still have to make the food, then press the button to call you. There's gonna be a 15-minute lag there, so just go ahead and 10 a.m. to 11:15. Make sure that your hot spots, your money spots, aren't affected by those time frames. All right. But after 11 o'clock, generally speaking, your hot spots and money spots, they should be all good to go, so it should be straight. Now, key thing to remember about the lunchtime hours. Who's mainly ordering lunchtime? You will get the occasional people that they're at home, they just got the munchies. But for the most part, people are going to be ordering during their lunch hour at work, and they want to have something brought to them. So you're going to have to deal with typical workplace stuff like having a code to get in, and I already covered you handle that the same way you handle apartments, but having to have a code to get in, parking issues, having to take the food to up a few floors if you're in a big city. So that's actually part of the reason I don't care much for doing the morning rush hour, because I usually do this delivery stuff like back to back. So if I did the morning rush hour, what will come after that will be the lunchtime rush hour. I'm actually not excited to enjoy taking all this stuff to people's workplace because it's a little too much of a hassle. And you got to go in, and some of them might tell you to leave it with a considered area or leave it somewhere. That's cool, but most of the time you got to bring it to their office, set up in the service court. All that takes time, and you got to take that into consideration. Me personally, if I do the morning rush hour, the lunchtime rush hour, I'll actually go hang out in the suburbs because people's workplaces only ain't got these huge buildings to it. They use like maybe a school or something, just one floor, and a lot of times they'll come out and meet you in those circumstances. So take all that in consideration. But evaluate if it's worth it or not. That's a time where demand is going to be in play. All right. Next up, we obviously got the dinner time hours. I have 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. I know some of y'all thinking, well, it's like 5 to 8. Yes, that's when generally dinner is, but you have people, they get home late, or for whatever reason they didn't eat dinner during that time and they still order stuff. Or they get what I call the nighttime munchies. So you might as well go ahead and grab that money and get that in there too. Now the thing about dinner time, the tide of orders is going to be slowly transitioning from workplace to houses and apartments. Because people are going to be on their way home, they're going to be home, and you're not going to get as many places like workplace related. Unless now, I will get like an occasional like one from a hospital or something like that, but in those cases, they usually meet me outside, and the tide is going to go from workplace to houses and apartments. And that brings us to our next topic of discussion, because we just discussed the general time frames where it's best to drive. Now we're going to talk about apartments versus workplace versus houses. We touched on it briefly with the workplace in the sense of some workplaces are going to be tall buildings and you're going to have to park. That could potentially be an issue. And then you're going to have to take the food up to the buildings. Now that's something to keep in mind if you're going to do the lunch hour. If you don't want to deal with that, don't do the lunch hour or do it in the suburbs, right? And at dinner time, you're going to deal with apartments and houses. Now, which one has greater value? Obviously, houses have more value because they're easier to find. A lot of times, they actually meet you outside, surprisingly enough. And even if they don't, you literally get out your car, ring the doorbell, handle the food, get back in your car. The whole thing can take maybe less than 3 minutes. Versus apartments, you got to find their apartment, put your gate code in. You might have to walk upstairs, etc. That's going to take longer. So houses have more value to us as drivers, but obviously you don't know if you're going to be going to a house or apartment prior to you getting the ping. But what you do know is, remember the McDonald's I told you about, how they're surrounded by nothing but houses? If they're guaranteed under 30 minutes surrounded nothing but houses, you can only, for the most part, go to houses. So you want to take that in consideration during this time frame. There are going to be places in the city that's saturated with apartments. So the restaurants around them, if they're under 30 minutes, that's what you're going to be dealing with. So if you're not willing to deal with that, maybe you want to turn your phone off when passing through that area. And vice versa. You're going to have sections of the city that's going to be mostly residential, mostly going to be houses. You place values on your territories. And you don't have to literally write this down. Just have a mental idea of what to expect in certain parts of the city and what restaurants are around there. Now, in a lot of cases, it's not going to matter because the restaurants that are in the vicinity, some of them are going to be under 30 minutes, some of them are going to be like 30 to 50 or whatever. You could easily get a restaurant that takes you 10 miles away where you were surrounded by apartment houses, but takes you 10 miles to a house. So just keep it in mind. It really comes into play if all the restaurants are in a short, immediate vicinity and they're all like between 15 or 25 minutes or under 30 minutes, etc. That's when the idea of individual territory comes into play. Because I'll tell you personally, a bunch of restaurants under 30 minutes, which I know they're going to have to be short, okay? And they're surrounded by apartment houses, I might avoid that area. Unless the area is well known for giving good tips. And here comes to this next thing that it's not actually part of the things that I said the videos about, but I'll just throw it in there. But a lot of people will try and negotiate with their customer to say, hey, can you meet me outside, can you meet me here, etc. That could actually affect your satisfaction rate. It probably won't, but it could affect you getting a tip. They feel like they had to go an extra mile just for you, you might not get a tip. So keep that in mind. Now, what I do, I generally don't try and organize to meet people for the most part, unless I'm taking it to a hotel, not a hotel, but like a hotel, and parking is an issue, and I know that parking is an issue there, then I'll text them right when I'm heading there, like, parking is the issue there, do you mind meeting me? And 9 times out of 10, they know it too, so it's cool. But for the most part, I'll bring the food to them. Yes, it takes extra time, but here's the reason why I do it. I do it because I kept track of, like, let's say if I'm in Dallas and I'm getting a bunch of orders and they're all in like apartments or like buildings where I gotta go up elevators and stuff. I kept track of those orders, and I never got a cash tip, but I always got tipped. Like, I would wake up the next day and have like random $2, $3, $5, sometimes $10 in my Uber account. And I noticed a direct correlation between when I do that and my earnings. I made more money. So I kept doing it. Now, if you're in an area where that's not the case, you're not getting tipped and you're going this extra effort, the main reason I'm doing it anyway is to get the tip. So if I'm not going to get it, I would actually contact them and negotiate, hey, can you meet me such and such? Because you are wasting time doing this if you're not going to be compensated for it. So my stream of thought is, if it affects me in terms of tips, I do it. If not, then I'll be closer to the strategy where go ahead and try and negotiate them coming down. Some people have a rich people's complex in the sense of, no, bring it up. You just have to do it in that case. A lot of people be understanding. They understand that you got to keep it moving as a driver, so they'll work with you. So based on if you're getting tips or not, kind of use your own strategy or evaluation when it comes to that. I already told you how I handle it. I recommend you do the same. If it affects your earnings, I would do it. If it doesn't, I would, kind of negotiate. That covers it for this video. So after this video series, you should be able to answer the following questions. What's the best time to drive Uber Eats? What am I going to be dealing with during that time frame when I do drive for Uber Eats? You should be able to kind of not assign a number to certain parts of the city, but just have a general idea of what's going to be around in that portion of the city. And using that information all together should get you the result of increasing your earnings. Okay? So that covers it for this video. If you have any questions, comment below. Go to www.theuberlifestyle.com, click on Uber Eats, and you can get additional information on strategies you can use to be successful as an Uber Eats driver. This completes part 5. Part 6, like I said, see more advanced videos, so definitely got something to look forward to. But part 6 will actually be covering boosts, quests, and tips. The things that directly affect your earnings. You'll figure out why I waited to mention those until so late in the video series, but you'll find out in our next video. This is Elijah. Until the next time, peace out.